And we are live, as it says. So I hope so. I'll just test. Yes, very much so.
Yes, definitely.
Live and kicking, as Simple Minds once said. And welcome to Friday, everybody. You've made it to the end of another week. If you're listening to this on recap, it probably isn't Friday, but there you go. You can't win all of the things all of the time, can you? What's your week been like?
It's been a good week, out and about, lots of places. Probably saw me yesterday on LinkedIn. I was down at Posturite down in Sussex for their fantastic Pedal for Stroke charity bike ride, which was over 100 kilometers, and it was pretty pokey in the afternoon. So well done to everyone who A, started, and B, completed the event. Fabulous, did really well. I think everyone finished it. So
So exactly what are they raising money for there? I mean, we're guessing by the name.
Stroke Association.
Yeah,
for the Stroke Association. It was called Pedal for Stroke. So they started from the velodrome. I think it was Herne Hill, which I think is in South London.
Yep.
All the way down and finished up in beautiful East Sussex yesterday afternoon. So well done to everyone who completed that event. It was a fabulous event, and they've raised loads and loads of money. So I think they said they've been doing this now for 3 years, and I think they were into the six figures. They were well over 100,000 they've raised in the last 3 years. So it's
wow. Tremendous.
Well done. Kudos to our friends at Posturite.
Tremendous effort. Well, there you go. They had the weather for it as well, which is nice.
Yeah, a little bit warm in the afternoon though. I think when the
would you rather have that, or would you rather have typhoons and gales?
Well, hey, in this country we moan whatever the weather is. If it's too hot, we want it to be raining. If it's raining, we want it to be hot. You just can't win, can you? So, but they all did exceptionally well.
Well, we should take a more French approach to the weather, I feel. And with that, we shall welcome our first guest of today, who is the wonderful Sandra, who will be talking to us in French, or maybe teaching us a bit of French.
Of course. Well, we can all start with bonjour, can we?
Bonjour.
Bonjour. I actually told my pupils that bonjour means good morning and good afternoon. Did you know that?
No.
No. There you go, because I asked the question, what do you say when you meet someone in the afternoon? They wouldn't know. So now it's official. Bonjour can be used in the morning and in the afternoon.
Oh, I love that. Well, it makes it simpler, doesn't it? And we're going to welcome the wonderful Jacqui as well. Jacqui, thanks for joining us.
It's an absolute pleasure, Graham. And I feel as a Welsh lady, I should be saying Prynhawn.
Oh, lovely.
Prynhawn.
Prynhawn for this afternoon.
I love this. Look at this. We are multicultural already on this
multilingual
show.
Yes.
Multilingual.
Very nice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Are you still living in Wales, Jacqui, or you?
No, my husband and I moved to Malvern in Worcestershire, which is famous for its hills, about 8 years ago now. But I'm not too far away from the Welsh border.
And it's sauce.
I've got family back there, so I get across the border quite regularly.
Hills and sauce. Yes.
That's it.
Absolutely marvelous. Right. Well, I think we should start by the guests saying a little bit about what it is that they do, because and then we'll take it from there. So, Sandra, let's go first. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
I knew you would ask me that question, and I was thinking like, I haven't done a job interview for years, so what am I going to answer? So I was thinking about my star. Do you believe in star sign? Is that something that you're interested in?
I believe I have one.
Okay. What's your star sign?
I'm a Libra. Yeah.
My son, Jeremy. Stephen, what are you? Do you know?
I am a Taurus.
You're Taurus. Okay. And Jacqui, what are you?
I'm a Virgo.
You're a Virgo. That's why.
Now, Sandra, don't tell us we shouldn't all be in the same room.
No, I wouldn't say that. It's just because I was thinking this morning about how to introduce myself. And my star sign is Pisces. And I don't know if you see the sign, but it's two fishes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
And there's something really interesting about my life in general. It's all about two. So I speak two languages. Obviously, I'm French. someone hasn't gathered that, then sorry. And I'm obviously living in Scotland for like more than I can remember, like 30 years. So I've got two home countries at heart. It's France and Scotland. And then with all the career paths that I came across and everything that I've done, I ended up setting up two businesses. La Jolie Ronde, to teach the French children some amazing French, and obviously language for fun for the adults. So two businesses. I also have two wonderful sons. There you go, Jeremy and Peter. And I was thinking about another duality, which is, I don't know if I should tell you or the audience can guess.
Go on then. No, yeah, go on, guess. We'll guess.
Let them guess a wee bit. What would be
Okay.
another duality? Just by looking at me and thinking about something, you know, Graham, you say sometimes we'll make assumption, just to get the audience maybe thinking, what is the last dual things that I've got? And
I'm going to say you've got two tattoos.
Oh, well, that's very interesting, Stephen. Okay, I'm not saying yet. Okay, Jacqui, can you guess?
I hate being put on the spot.
So do I. I feel like I'm back at school,
I'm
right?
so sorry, but you can think. I don't want to take you on the spot. It's just to, jazz up a bit. But we can come back to it later. So I don't know what else to tell you, except that I'm very passionate about obviously teaching French. When I came over in Scotland after studying English for 9 years, I realized I couldn't speak the language, which was quite sad. And all the basic situation I was into, I just couldn't express myself. So when I set up those two businesses, I had in mind that I wanted the people to communicate, make sure that they knew when they go to a bakery how to ask for a croissant, when they had a breakdown, how to say that the tire was flat. So all this thing is more for me to teach the people to speak the language. Forget about the test. Forget about the grammar. It's there. We need to learn it. We have to remind ourselves why, to help you construct the sentences. But most importantly, we want to speak it.
Absolutely.
So this is what I've been doing for 16 years now, Graham.
I'm going to bring us back to the big subject of communication in a little while, because that's the thing that kind of binds us all together. Jacqui, tell us a bit about you.
How do I follow that?
With some je ne sais quoi.
Be yourself, Jacqui. I've read lots about you. You're just wonderful. I can tell.
Oh, thank you ever so much, Sandra. But in terms of myself, so as it says on the screen, my business is Turn a Corner Learning Solutions, and my hubby came up with that name 8 years ago, when we were sort of trying to be creative and think about, right, what do we call this business? So I specialize in helping SMEs, particularly in the insurance sector, because I spent 20 years of my first early career in insurance. But when I look at my clients over the last 8 years, there's a huge mix in terms of sectors. But I'm particularly passionate about helping SMEs to increase their customer satisfaction, to gain more customers, to really outshine their bigger corporate competitors, because often SMEs have smaller budgets. They may not have internal trainers. They're specialized, in customer service or leadership. So I go into SMEs in particular, help their customer service teams develop their confidence, their skills, but also their team leader population as well. But the other thing I'm passionate about is really helping every employee in an organization to recognize they all have an impact on the end service. So often when I go in with my internal service excellence program, they sit there and they go in, why am I here? I don't speak to customers. I don't work in customer service. Oh, really? Right. Okay, let's start with that. But thankfully, when they leave the room, they no longer have that mindset, and they absolutely get that actually their internal customers, their colleagues, and how they speak to and how they help and support and how they communicate with each other all has an impact on the end service delivered to customers. So that keeps me busy. And as I've already said, I'm a Welsh lady, but now living in Worcestershire.
Now, Jacqui, we kind of connected together previously, but the reason that I asked you onto this show was because you put out a post about what? Tell everybody.
I put out a poll because a lot of research, slight differences in percentages, but the overwhelming, research shows that there's around 80% of team leaders, managers that have never received any training. And that is just staggering. So I thought, right, okay, let's see how that research looks in terms of, the LinkedIn audience, which that poll finished a couple of days ago. And 72% answered that either their team leaders and managers have never received any training in their organization or very little. And, when management have such a big impact on their teams, have a big impact on the business, that is such a worrying statistic. So yes, the LinkedIn poll did seem to back up what the research shows as well.
Okay, Sandra.
Yes.
I love segueing, and I said in the kind of preamble to the show that I love trying to segue together things that seemingly have got no connection to them, but we're going to do it. Okay, right. So you teach people to speak a different language from maybe one that they've grown up with, etc. In the process of doing that, what do you learn about people's kind of overall communication skills?
So it's interesting because some people come to me, they're obviously bilingual for the younger age because one of the parents is French, but they don't speak it in the house.
Yep.
Because either it's only one of the partner who's French, so the communication is in the language that the two parents can speak.
Right.
So that's one scenario. The next one is probably some of the well-educated parents who want their children to have a second language. And even if they don't speak the language, they want their children to be able to communicate with maybe a broader audience. And when they travel, when they work later on, they will have a second language. So that's, again, another reason why they learn the language. And then you got also the parents who wants their children to do something that they missed out on. They're like, oh, I wanted to speak a language. I couldn't do it. I didn't have the chance, the opportunity to do it. And now we've got those amazing platforms like Zoom, because this is where I teach French upon, or those after-school club, because again, that's why I organize like holiday activity or after-school club, where I can send my child to learn French, and something that I couldn't do at that age. So it's interesting because you always come deeply with a kind of like a will and a wish to communicate. And and what they do, especially the adult one, when they get back into French that they learned a long time ago at school, they understand the language better, English better, obviously, because it's only English people I teach to. Why? Is because in England, you don't necessarily learn the grammar. You don't necessarily learn what is an adjective, a verb. So when they come to my class, it's Discovery Channel. It's like, I didn't know that. And this is good because what happened, they can communicate better. We can find some different wow word or action word because now they know what's a verb, what's an action word. And that develops the communication at its best. And it's very rewarding. I can tell, I've been doing like the language for fun for 6 years. And it's so rewarding to see all those people who's been obviously learning with me for so long. They're just blooming in confidence. And the communication between each other, it's even growing. It's better than ever been, which is fantastic to witness, I must say.
Now you see, this is where my head's going, right? Because it's my head does this; it goes creative on all of this, right? This is an exact replica of what's going on in business, right? Because actually, what you've got is, you were talking about customer service. That is an outward narrative, an outward communication, which everybody within the company should be speaking, right? So it should be kind of almost like a global language that everybody within the business speaks. But actually what you tend to get is internal languages, which are management languages, and then everybody else language, right? The people that are doing the stuff, right? And what that does is, because it isn't because there's a language there that not everybody is learning and communicating with and understands, right? By the time it gets to the global language out there, that global language is wrong, right? Yeah. And that has a massive impact upon the effectiveness of the communication of that business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? Actually, the problem is, right, we don't all speak French. If you know what I mean, as a metaphor. It's entirely true, isn't it?
But
Right?
you can learn to communicate together without knowing French.
Correct. But this is what I'm saying. There's amazing analogies actually between what you're doing there, Sandra, in teaching people to understand that what that communication can actually achieve, and what you're doing as well, Jacqui. Does anyone want to say a bit about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the other sort of things that, that are sometimes challenges in business that I've picked up on. So, for example, recently I was training some teams in a manufacturing organization, and you had a customer service team. It was a family-owned business. So you had a customer service team of people, you had the more technical design people, you had the planners. One of the biggest things when I went in, just to sort of, just get a feel for the organization, sit with staff, find out what the challenges were in terms of speaking the same language, they clearly weren't. There was a lot of technical speak, and then the team that needed to speak to the clients was saying, I've got no idea how I'm explaining this to a customer, because that technical person, is just speaking a foreign language. I do not understand. So sometimes we don't appreciate or think about the audience in terms of the language that we're communicating with, or people just having a strong preference for one type of communication channel. So you might have people in a team that deal with emails most of the time. That's their comfort zone. But ask them to actually pick up the phone and have a verbal conversation. It's, again, sometimes, a challenge. Well, I'm great with written communication. I'm here to deal with emails. Speak to a customer. Or the one that used to sometimes make me smile as well as be frustrated is, internally, when people are a bit lazy and they ping emails back and forth, and the person is just sitting at the end of the department, and then they ring you, or they come over to your desk and say, I sent you an email, it was urgent, and you didn't reply to it. And my first response is, well, if it was urgent, why did you send an email?
I know.
Because you've got no control over when I open that email. You don't know what else is going on for me, when I'm going to be able to respond to that email. So yes, communication is vital in all different contexts. Speaking the same language, using the right communication channel as well, are all, I think, challenges within organizations, small or large. But actually, I think the larger you get, the more challenging it becomes.
Yes,
Jacqui, you were saying, Jacqui, how long you've sort of worked in that sort of sector from that sort of that customer service background. Has email sort of probably been, whilst it adds a lot of benefits, has it sort of been one of the biggest hindrances in terms of communication, that it just basically just allows people to be lazy?
Yes, in a simple answer to that, Stephen, I think, it creates laziness. It's harder to build relationships as well through email, not just internally, but with customers. If you've got a potentially difficult conversation to have, when you send an email, particularly to a customer, you don't know what tone of voice that person is going to put on it when they're reading it, what sort of mood they're in when they read it. So yes, I think the other challenge, we've probably all been in this situation, and where you send an email, you get a response to one part of that email. You think, well, what about the other 2 or 3 questions I asked in that email? So you have the email ping pong going on as well, as I describe it. So It's not my favourite channel. It has its uses.
Yes.
But yes, I think sometimes it does create that sort of laziness.
By the way, we've now got comments on the screen. This is a new thing. Okay, so you can
yes.
see if people are commenting, you can see them down the bottom there. Susan's just said also every employee can contribute to sales growth. Keep them happy, they will. Again, I'm going to make an analogy with French. I think, especially, I think in this country we're incredibly lazy about languages. And I'm going to put myself into that entire bracket. I have acted incredibly badly when I've been to France, right? Yeah, I'm sorry, I have, because like I will go up to a machine that's got a English button on it, and I will get a French-speaking person at the other end, and because it's got an English button on it, English help button, I will assume that they can speak English, whereas actually they are a French person trying to help an English person, right? No, it happens, right? And I think it's the same as the email thing as well, right? We one of the dangers of bad communication like email is that we can get it off of our chest and we think that it's being dealt with, right? It's no longer our problem. And we are like, a lot of, not everybody, but a lot of English people are like that when they go abroad to somewhere like France, right? They will literally say, they go, well, they can speak English, so it's not my problem.
I'm gonna bounce back on that, Graham, because sometime, and now that I know I'm teaching more than 100 people, I can't agree with you, Graham. I think there's so many British people who love learning a language and they're actually doing it. Good. So I've got to bounce back on that, because the reason why they're learning it is because they're actually tackling. They're like, okay, I've got to grow in confidence. I want to do it, but I can't do it. So who's going to help me doing it? So they obviously come to me and all the teacher, in Language for Fun or La Jolie Ronde. And this is when I think if you would be getting help from a person like me, who very enthusiastically would say, well, you could try that next time. You could have that little phrase next time. Then you will grow in confidence and you will do it. And you will not obviously pick up the shortest option, which is, okay, let's press the English one, but let's have more fun and try the French one and see where it's going to take me.
Okay. So it's improving, and that's good.
Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if the laziness one's an interesting one. I wonder if, because all the countries that are near us, if you look at all the Northern European countries, because they all speak English, that's to our detriment. If they didn't, I think it would force the English population, as it were, on these isles, which is not just English, it's Welsh, it's Scottish, it's Irish. But I think that would force people to have to take that on board. But as you say, because everyone else speaks English back, therefore we think, oh, well, why should I try? Even though you've got the skill, I think that doesn't help us. Everyone else will speak English, because English is the global business language. That doesn't help us, I don't think, in terms of learning.
Listen, I'm going to be really controversial and blame teaching as well, right? Because not your teaching, and I'm going to put my hands up here. I don't know, but I think things may have changed at school, right? Okay. But in my day, right, and I still found this on certain apps that teach languages as well, right? Who shall remain nameless for the sake of this conversation, right?
And if we all know,
yeah. But if I'm learning a different language and it's teaching me the cat crossed the road, that's not going to be helpful.
You're not going to use it.
Exactly that, right? I need to learn
what you're going to actually use.
Yeah, exactly. Language that I'm actually. I actually really enjoyed French at middle school. Right, really enjoyed it. I lost complete interest in it when I got to the upper school, because we got sat in booths week after week, no proper interaction, with headphones on, just like I am now, learning sentences like the cat crossed the road, and you just think, what?
Well, everybody would stop, would they? I don't blame you for stopping it. That's why we need to change the way we teach. I mean, I think I got something really good going on. From the moment I got a child or an adult we always use the language in real situation. So for example, I'm just going to give you the example who's coming up because I did that this morning. I set it up on my desk, a pretend French shop. So you've got like, yeah, I know, you would love it. It's like all those kind of French sweeties, French cake, and loads of stationery, everything that when you share the picture of that, everybody wants to buy.
Yeah.
So I'm teaching the kids to buy. And they have earned every single week €1 to buy those items. So what do you think is going to happen? The same as what you described, Graham. They're going to learn 10 times the same sentences. But it's going to be meaningful because at the end of the day, they're going to have that little bag with all the goodies they bought sent to their house.
Can you teach me to ask for a bag of aniseed balls in French?
Yeah. Je voudrais.
Je voudrais.
Yeah. And what did you say? Aniseed balls.
Aniseed balls, yeah.
And this is. Yeah. Okay. Un paquet. Can you say after me? Un paquet.
Un paquet.
Yeah. De boules.
De boules.
D'anis.
What's that?
D'anis.
D'anis. Oh, d'anis. As in the drink. As in the drink. Yes.
And you need to be polite. I assume you know. How do you say please, Graham?
S'il vous plaît.
Ben voilà. And that's you. It's as easy as that.
Now, the same thing is happening in businesses, right? The same thing is happening in businesses, which is part of the problem is the way that we train.
Yeah.
Right. And that's part of the problem with, and as you say, if we're not training leaders, if we're not training people in communication, it's all going to fall down, right? Yes, Jacqui?
Absolutely. And I think what we're in at the moment, I'm hearing more and more businesses saying we've paused training. We've had to cut back on training because business costs have increased, particularly in the UK. I'm not going to get all political about it, but we all know what's going on in businesses in terms of costs at the moment. Or we can't afford it, we can't afford the cost of investing in training. And rather than thinking about can we afford it, they should be asking themselves, can we afford not to? Because if we're not investing in training and developing the skills of teams, then people will feel that their investment isn't, just their own personal development isn't valued, isn't a priority. So then there's attrition costs because people will go elsewhere. That has an impact on communication, as you've said, Graham, and therefore customer satisfaction usually goes down, complaints go up, and there's a huge cost element there as well. So for me, it's more about can we afford not to invest in our teams as opposed to can we afford to invest in it. So I think it's turning that question around and really thinking about what is the impact here if we're not investing in communication skills for our teams. But of course, when you are investing, it's also about then, as Sandra said, about making it a memorable, session in terms of nobody wants to sit there being talked at. People learn by getting involved. People learn by having a bit of fun. I'm known out there in the LinkedIn world as the customer service dancing queen. So when people sort of know that title and I walk into a room, they probably know what they're going to expect.
Amazing title, Jacqui.
I love it.
People think you can't link dancing with customer service. Absolutely, yes, you can. Yeah. And I've proved that's the case. But that's what makes people retain what they've learned. They're having fun. They're enjoying it. You're making it relevant, but they're actively engaged in it rather than sitting there just listening to somebody speaking at them or going through death by PowerPoint, which we probably have all experienced at some point.
Yeah. It's a really bad time that we're living in. That. Go on, Stephen.
I was going to say it's interesting what Jacqui was saying, because I've sort of had a few conversations this week, and what we do is obviously we make accessories to support digital workers, so laptop users and PC users, and we've seen a similar theme to what Jacqui sort of picked up on there is that it's sort of because it's deemed sort of discretionary spend. It's sort of something that maybe is one of the first things that sort of gets pulled back, but actually what we do and other people in our sector do is we produce products that make people more healthy and more productive in the workplace. So like Jacqui was saying there, can you not afford, you can't not afford to invest in training. It's the same with us. If you don't get involved in that, you're just going to create other problems. So it's sort of things that are being looked at are sort of seen as easy to cut, but actually are potentially the worst things to cut.
I'm going to get controversial again. I think the reason that people are cutting back on training is because they have invested in training, but they've done it wrong.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it's a waste of money. Whereas if you do it Jacqui's way,
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know Marianne Mills, that Jacqui, don't you, on LinkedIn?
Yes,
right.
I do.
And I've done a fair bit of work with her, and we've had several conversations within organisations where the head of training has openly admitted that none of their trainers have had any training on training.
Okay.
Right? And they don't think that's a problem. Right?
Don't they?
They don't think that's a problem because they have arrived in their position through being sort of promoted into that position without them ever having any training on training.
Yeah.
Right?
And because they've got knowledge.
Because they've got knowledge, right? Yeah. Couple of things. A, because they've got knowledge of the product or service or whatever, and B, because they say, and I'm gonna really blow it open here. They say when we do training, people like it, right? And you say, how do you know that it's effective then? Because people say they like it, and I go, yeah. Do you know how easy that is? If you deliver training to somebody, and at the end of that training, you go, here's a bit of paper. Wasn't that brilliant? You enjoyed that today. Could you just put that, say that you enjoyed it on that bit of paper? Everybody's going to do it because they feel embarrassed if they don't. But will they have actually taken away what they needed from that? Will it actually be effective training? Probably not. And you don't know whether you're delivering effective training unless you're trained in training. Now, we wouldn't do this with our kids at school. We would not put our kids into school with teachers who aren't trained at teaching.
No.
We would not.
I absolutely agree, Graham. And it's one of those things that is one of my biggest bugbears. And I will join you in that controversy. Everybody thinks if you've got knowledge, you can train.
No.
And how many, and I know this might get a backlash, but I'm going to say it anyway. How many LinkedIn trainers out there know their knowledge when it comes to LinkedIn, but can pop the word trainer in there because they've got the knowledge? What training experience, what training qualifications have they got? So everybody thinks that being a trainer is just about putting that word trainer after their knowledge topic, and it's easy, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. ChatGPT, other AIs that do exist, knocked out my training course this afternoon. Canva knocked out my PowerPoint. Whoosh bang, and there I am training it. Right? I mean, honestly, we really this is the biggest problem we've got right now. People are not investing in training because they've had poor training. They've had training that isn't, where nobody is looking at whether or not that training is effective. They don't approach it with the right principles of inclusion and accessibility in the first place. It doesn't suit everybody that's having it. It isn't effective for everybody that's having it, and that's why. So when I come back to why at 53 years of age, Sandra, I don't speak French particularly well, it's probably because some of my training on French wasn't good training on French. I lost the love of French at some point, or of not of French people or the language or the culture, but I lost my love of being able to speak French at some point because you out there, and you know who you are, were really rubbish at teaching me, and that's a problem. We need to get, it's not that we should cut investment. We should actually improve. We should put more money into it and do it properly.
Yeah. To go back to what you said, you might not have the experience that you obviously wanted to have. Now, I've got another example for that. Recently, I just enrolled a lovely lady, Nicole, and another one, Susan. And Susan told me that she was with another French teacher, but she didn't get what she wanted to get. So she was learning grammar with her. She was learning all the form of all the genders and everything that she wanted to initially, but it wasn't what she was after. So when she joined my course, it was more about the conversational. So again, always remember what you need to train the people to. What is the purpose of the training and where you want to get the person to do after it. So the content of the training can be the best ever. If it's not what the trainee needs, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your trainee's time. You're wasting, obviously, the money in paying that trainee or the trainer. And at the end of the day, the person like Graham is totally frustrated because he hasn't been trained for the expectation and the motivation he had at the first place. So again, coming to the teaching world and the teacher, there are amazing teachers out there. You've got to find the one which match your expectation. So for example, today, if you listen to me and you're like, I want to improve my conversation, then that's me. Come to me. If you want to ace your exam, if you want to have top grades, yes, of course, you can come to me. I'll build up on that. But the end result will be the conversation, because this is what I'm building all my lesson upon. So the training has to be spot on. It has to be bang on. And the end result, when you read all the comments that Jacqui got, she nailed it. I mean, I was reading all those carousel of feedback and I'm thinking, gosh, amazing. She's such a fantastic trainer. So again, I wish I would put together all my feedback for over the 16 years from my pupils. It would show you that. It would show you that, you know, the kids managed to actually went to a bakery and buy a baguette on his own. Mom was so proud. It shows you, you know, the effectiveness of the teaching, or the training. It's both, I would say.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sandra. Let's just pick up on a comment that Kersley.
Kersley,
yeah. That's just from my experience, the best training comes from people that are external of the organisation. I'm going to say yes and no.
Yes and no. I was about to say.
Absolutely, because actually. And I get the point that he's making. I think you can be more challenging if you come from externally outside the organization, because you can, if you're internal, then, you know, there's certain things that you won't necessarily want to say, right? There's a certain pair of eyes that you can come with if you're external to the organization. However, what I would say is, surely what we should be trying to do is we should be bringing external expertise into businesses to create the best trainers within that organization to train within that organization. That's what we should be doing. So actually, we should end up with the best training coming from within the organization as well.
Well, I was going to say we should ask Jacqui that, because this is her thing. She's the expert. We should ask her. What do you think?
I think it can work that way. Equally, it can work with external trainers as well. There's no surprise I'm going to say that. But just to give you some context. So yes, I have gone in and trained internal trainers. So that yes, they've got the knowledge, they know the culture, they've got the knowledge of the company and the systems and the processes. So yes, that can be very effective. What isn't effective is if you get an external training organization in and they just do off the shelf. Yeah. So there's no pre-work. So the feedback that Sandra very kindly mentioned just then was some feedback from a council I worked with over a 3-month period earlier this year. And I spent time going into various areas of that council to really understand, the challenges that they often face, but to really understand the people, the culture, and to therefore develop a bespoke, tailored program. And one of the things that really stood out in terms of the feedback was they all said they felt that I'd worked in the organisation, that I'd actually taken the time. I understood, I got them, I knew what they were about, and they didn't feel at any point that was an external trainer who didn't know what was going on in their organisation. So I think, yes, an external training company can create a really good programme, but I think it starts with what happens before you design and deliver that program. Are you taking the time to actually really understand that business, to understand the needs, and to identify exactly what Sandra just said, what the training gaps are, what it is that they want as an outcome? That's sheep dip approach, where everybody goes through the same program, regardless of experience, regardless of skills, is the easiest way to switch people off, because they sit there thinking, I do this stuff already anyway. Yes, that little bit I learned from that half an hour of the session, but all the other stuff wasn't relevant to me because I'm so experienced in my job and I do a lot of this. So I think, yes, I think the best training can be going in and train the trainer internally. But I think if it's external, there's a bit of work that needs to be done before that program is even designed or delivered.
Oh, that makes sense.
I was going to say as well about AI, Jacqui. We discuss AI a lot on this show, and Graham's smirking now. But what are the implications you're seeing on what you do, and what are your sort of thoughts of how it'll impact training going forward as AI sort of gets rolled out even wider?
I think in terms of going forward, and it is something that's constantly on my mind at the moment, I'd be silly not to think about it. But I think whereas, traditionally it might have been for me to go in and work on developing what I call the foundation skills first. So for example, customer service teams handling, just the routine conversations, and then build up to more difficult. With AI, everything that I've seen and heard is AI is very much going to potentially take away the more routine conversations, which from the customer perspective, great. If I just want a quick answer and I don't want to sit in a queue, if AI can give me that answer, fantastic. But I think where the training will change is developing the confidence and skills of staff to have those more difficult, complex conversations that I still believe that that's best dealt with by a human being, the empathy side of things. But equally with that, I think the well-being, the resilience training as well, because if you're dealing with difficult conversation after difficult conversation, that's tough. It requires, an element of emotional intelligence, of complex problem-solving abilities, but also being able to manage, as I say, just that day-to-day stress and challenges and building up your resilience while you're doing that. So I think, yes, I think that's where the training needs will be more prominent, I think, rather than the more routine, conversations.
Yeah, I think we need to understand the interconnectivity between these different things. I think it's important that when we start to explore using technologies to do some grunt work or to do some sort of initial conversational work with clients or whatever, that we understand which stakeholders still may need to be involved in that as well. Right, I think that's important. I mean, it's like if take it back to Sandra's example again. If someone still wanted to use a certain app to learn bits of French, but then there's nothing like the human context of learning something that really enables it, etc. And so it's starting to look at the nuances of where maybe this starts and where that stops, and are we having communication across that as well? So for example, are the people that are having the conversations with in customer service with end users, the difficult conversations, are they actually feeding into that AI, or is that just a development team over here that's taking it from a sort of spreadsheet of frequently asked questions, a knowledge base that somebody downloaded off the internet? Where is there humanness going into that AI or not? Right, because if not, what we end up with is we end up with massive kind of steps between the one and the other. I go onto a website, I get frustrated to the point of no return before I talk to a human. Then when I talk to a human, they're great because we've trained them properly and we've they're empathetic, whatever. But I'm already riled at that point. We should we need the technology to come up and blend seamlessly,
Yeah.
right? So that and the technology needs to know when to put it over to a human as well.
Yes.
Right. Not when the person's going, shut up, I want to talk to a human, but before that
point,
before boiling point. So no bunnies are harmed.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important, I think, for any business not to rush straight into thinking, right, that this is the next shiny thing. Our competitors are doing it, right? What's this AI about? And really, rush with implementing it. We saw it with when web chat, live chat came on, and we all know we've had horrendous experiences with that. And again, that happened because there wasn't enough thought, there wasn't enough planning, there wasn't, implemented in the right way. So I think, it'll be interesting, I think, to see how it pans out in the future. But I think I think businesses need to learn from any mistakes they made when it came to live chat implementation and take those learns into, implementing and developing AI, as you say, Graham, to work with people in their organisation in the right way. Otherwise, potentially it could be another a few years of some bad experiences for us all. Let's fingers crossed not.
Absolutely. Listen, before you both go today, and thank you so much for giving up your time. I promise we keep it around about the 45 minutes. If people want to know more about learning French, right, improving their communication in that side of things, or improving communication in business, from Jacqui, what's the best way? What would you like people to do now, Sandra?
So ideally, I'm a great communication person. I want to meet the person behind that email, behind that name. I offer a discovery call, which is just 30 minutes long. That's usually what we take to just find out why you want to learn French, what's the reason behind it. And then I've got courses all the way through the week. So we need to find out what is the best course for you. So this is the first thing I would recommend. People on my LinkedIn profile, you've got the calendar link. Just book an appointment and just let's have a chat and see where I can help you and how. And then if you're a parent looking for classes for La Jolie Ronde, I would say, I know you're busy. Half an hour is maybe too much. Just drop me a message. Get started. When is your child free? Which day, which time, what age? And I'll make sure that I offer you a free tester session. And can I just finish just to say what was my dual things?
Yes. I hadn't forgotten.
Okay, I'm very, very proud of that one. I started 16 years ago as being a business in person. Okay, I was delivering my classes in nursery, school, my own classroom. And because of the pandemic, everything collapsed. So I moved things online. So now I do have my online businesses, and I do also run my little world in Livingston, in Scotland, where I obviously teach during the holidays, October and Easter and summer holidays. So if you are local, I don't know who's local from West Lothian watching us, then get in touch because there's lots coming up in July. And
I love that.
Brilliant.
Can you get good
tattoos then?
No, can you get good baguettes in Lothian?
Yes, the sourdough baguettes from everywhere are really good. I can't quote, can I? The supermarket, but delicious, Graham. Yeah,
Fantastic.
Stephen,
And Jacqui,
what did you say, Stephen? I think Stephen wanted to ask something.
I was just saying I was wrong with the 2 tattoos.
Yes.
Yeah. And Jacqui, if people want to get hold of you.
Very similar to Sandra. So you'll find me most days hanging around on LinkedIn. So people can get in touch with me. Just send me a DM if you're looking for developing the competence and skills of your internal customer service teams, your team leaders, or you want to break down those silos and get everybody speaking the same language and communicating to each other internally. So yes, just get in touch via a DM and set up a no obligation call with me. I don't offer any pre-solutions. Very similar to Sandra, it's very much about listening to what your needs are and then tailoring a solution that will help.
Lovely. Stephen, we'll be in touch with both of you to get you a little something sent to you for taking part today.
Can I have 1 minute more? Is that okay? And thank you again. Can I have 1 minute more? I'm also the area support advisor of La Jolie Ronde. So I am the trainer if anyone thinks about setting up their own franchise, La Jolie Ronde franchise, and if they wish to teach French or Spanish to children. So this is a last, just an idea. If you want to set up your business and you are obviously in Scotland or in England or in Ireland, then get in touch, okay? Because I would be your coordinator for Scotland, and I would be obviously I would be the best, I think, for you to be trained to be La Jolie Ronde teacher.
It's been a pleasure having both of you on today. I love the last statement from Kersley who said, "I enjoy this session. Very bold."
Oh, thank you.
If we've done a bold session on LinkedIn and out to the world, then that's great. That's what we want to be.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Stephen. And
thank you ever so much, though. And lovely to meet you, Sandra, as well.
The same.
And thank you to you, the people that have been listening, the people that will watch this in weeks, who are watching it now. Thank you so much for your time and taking the time out to listen to all four of us today. We will be back in a couple of weeks' time with more of this. But until then, you can catch up with previous episodes at wellbeing.com. Stay safe out there. Be good to each other and communicate well. Bye.
And the last word, au revoir.
Au revoir.
Merci beaucoup.